Greetings. Most importantly, is that blessings. Yes, sir. Bless my heart, bless my soul. Left it to the world, they're surely turning cold. Bless my heart, bless my soul. Give me the strength to continue on this road. Bless my heart and bless my soul. Left it to the world, they're surely turning cold. Bless my heart and bless my soul. Give me the strength to continue on this road. Good evening. Sorry about that. App want to do what it want to do, but we ain't gonna let that hold us back. Still watching? Thank you. This is another episode of 82 and 0 Live. We have a special guest lined up today. A good partner of mine, Montez Hilliard, has to me, a very extraordinary story. Just extraordinary person in general. So we'll get him on a second, but just to give you a background, I met him through church. We attended the same church for a while. Or have been attending the same church for a while, and I've always seen him around. I'm just kind of a person that kind of walks through and speaks, and just say what's up to everybody. That's just kind of what it is. But one day I was speaking to a friend of mine, Trent, and he was like, "Hey man, Tez, man, you ought to meet him, man. He a real dope person. You should check him out." And one day I just kind of went up to him. I was like, "Hey man, somebody told me you were real, you was a real dope individual doing a lot of dope things out there. So I wanted to, just kind of say what's up." And that's how it started, which was cool to me. My church had an Easter event, and Trent came back to me. He's like, "Hey man, you gotta check out one of my students. He has his own Italian ice truck outside. You should go check it out. Buy some Italian ice from him." So of course, me being who I am, I like to support the community. I went and did that. And so I went over, sure enough, young fella out there selling Italian ice, but he really blew me away because he came outside, he sat in front of the Italian ice truck, and he really just gave me the whole rundown. It was real professional. You could tell he had really been out there for a while and just doing what he was doing. So in that, I went ahead and kind of spoke to his dad afterwards, like, "Hey man, I wouldn't mind like having your son on and just, kind of talking to him about the business and about Italian ice." And my whole format is I like to pray over who I have on the show before I have them on the show, because that's important. I want every conversation I have to be a conversation that God wants us to have. And I don't move any further than that. So our episode had been kind of being pushed back, not really pushed back, but just waiting on God. And when he told me, yeah, I contact Tez, and as we're having a conversation, he's talking to me and he's telling me like his whole story. And I'm like, whoa, this has become something more than just a father pouring into his son and setting up a business. This is really showing a family that prays. And so this episode of 82 and 0 Live is just about that. A family that prays, the importance of prayer, the importance of faith, the importance of resiliency, and really just the inspiration that Tez is in just an hour or so conversation that he has been to me, just hearing his story. And I'm sure people seeing him walking and knowing his story from their space, they have the same kind of inspiration, the same kind of oomph when they see him really get up and do it. So no longer hear me talking no more. Here's the man of the hour, Montez.
Hey, how y'all doing, man? This is Montez Hilliard. Just sitting down, cooling this Sunday afternoon. G, I appreciate you having me on. You know what I'm saying, to kind of share just a little bit of my story. Kind of normal Sunday routine, kind of let life slow down a little bit, sitting on the back porch, enjoying the breeze, listening to the birds chirp. That's kind of what we got going on now.
Cool, cool, man. I appreciate you bearing with me through all that. I don't know why the enemy be trying to come and knock me out, but he must know we got something real, real strong because he was playing some real, real crazy games. But hey, I'm trying to be resilient like you, but I ain't giving up on nothing. So,
That's it.
um, with that said, man, give us a bit of your background. I know we talked, and I kind of know now, but just kind of give them a bit of your background, where you from, you know.
Like I said, my name's Montez Hilliard. I'm from Santee, South Carolina, 45 years old. Grew up on a small family farm with my pops. My brother kind of worked it for a while. I went to Ellery High School, graduated in 2000. That afforded me the opportunity to actually play football on the collegiate level. Left and went to Wofford in 2000, played football there. Transferred back to Claflin around 2003ish. From there, man, just kind of kept it moving, kept it going. Actually met my wife at Claflin 2005, 2006. Then we started dating, kind of pushed through there. Kid, wife, family. Um, just a kind of little brief background, before we dive real deep. But that's kind of like my story now. So met my wife in college, currently married now, since 2014. And yeah.
Nice. So tell us about young Tez, because now Tez at 45, the guy that I've spoken to is real introspective, a lot of good perspective, a lot of outlooks on life, and you don't get that to that place in life without having some experiences. So tell us
Yeah.
something about like the early life experiences, what you really been through.
Early tales, like I said, I can take it back to the days of Santee. Grew up on the farm. I'm the middle child. I actually got a younger sister and an older brother. Um, that way, was raised with a lot of hard work. I can't say a little bit of it, man. We kind of did backbreaking work at a very young age. Like you say, high school, smart kid, no trouble. Graduated number three in my senior class. But from there, just kind of life challenged a little bit. I grew up in the church. My father was a deacon, sung on the church choir, and then did a lot of those things. So really involved in the church when I was younger. Moving through life, kind of fell out of church. Um, just a little issues and stuff that I kind of wasn't seeing the way that everything was going. So kind of fell out of actually being in the church setting. I would say probably in my early 20s or so, kind of like right through and after college.
Okay. So that falling out of church, especially in like a college type area, post college, during college, what's that like? Like what kind of obstacles did that face, or how did you kind of navigate during that time?
I can say it faced just a little bit of them. And just kind of you learn a lot of things, like you said, growing up and kind of like in just a real Southern Baptist church, and then was kind of in it, learned about God, understood who He was. Sometimes I kind of say falling out of the church to me was a little bit of a blessing because I got a chance to actually learn who God was for me as an individual. Instead of God as people put Him in your life and they want Him to be for that fits, I guess, the stereotypical mold and everything else. So me kind of falling out of it, and in that time I was kind of going through some things, got in some trouble, had some issues. Like I told you, my story pretty much an open book. Like if anything in it or anything that anybody wants to know. So I can say probably around 2002, actually got arrested two times through my college career. Was able to be blessed enough to kind of get out of that situation and get my charges expunged to where now at 45, I don't actually have a record. Um, and then kind of just going through life things, man, and kind of met my wife during them that same time. And I could tell in those moments, God was kind of really dealing with me, like after the whole, being arrested and kind of going through. So I can say probably around 2005, 2006, into 2006. I remember, I can just kind of remember it vividly. I was in church, my home church in Santee, and I kind of went to the altar and I told, God, I said, you know what, I'm tired of just kind of doing things my own way, because I'm kind of getting in myself, and then just kind of tired of just doing it. So I just made a declaration then, like, look, I'm gonna get out the way. I'm gonna get on the passenger side, and I'm gonna let you drive this car. And wherever you take me at through this course of life, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm willing to go. No questions asked. I'm gonna give you total control. And I think at that point in my life, I felt a shift happen where I kind of stopped worrying a lot, and it really started changing and focusing my mindset differently with having a thing. At that point, he kind of really stepped in, and we got a one-on-one relationship. And I can probably say that that moment in December of 2005 was probably really the moment, like you say, kind of really falling out of church at that point. Probably was one of my last times or so in that setting in church for a while, and then kind of just falling out, but having that conversation before leaving. And I can say he actually really took control of my life at that point and really started working on me, doing the work in me, and just changing the way I viewed a lot of things, a lot of perspectives and everything, and just kind of really took control and was like, no, we're gonna do this together.
Gotcha. So in that moment, was it an easy transition to give him that control, or was it still kind of fighting over the wheel at times?
Now, at that point in 2005, it was easy. I mean, and it was just because of, like I like to tell a lot of people when we kind of talk, I said, I believe in God because of certain instances and things that he's done in my life that it was no other way. It was kind of like I knew it was him. So it was always that I knew God existed. There was no two ways about it. And even that point in 2005, I was wrestling with some issues, and I kind of tell everybody, just dealing with my wife in general. You know, we had kind of been talking, not really serious. Um, Kind of the end of 2005 when I met her, and then I was dealing with a few other females as well. And in that instance too, I told God, I said, you know what? I'm tired of all of it. So I need you to separate everything and leave me where I should be. So I got a phone call from one young lady, and it was like, Montez, can we be friends? Got a phone call from another one. And at this point, probably November, I kind of, my wife now, Chelsea, I was like, we need to go ahead and start dating. And she was like, well, I don't want to date you. And, just kind of was real. And in that sense of, and then from there, after December, I still remember she was coming home because she's from Connecticut. She was driving back to Orangeburg. And after everything fell out and the other two kind of pulled themselves away, we was on the phone, and she said, what we gonna do next with taking this forward? Like, we need to make it serious. So at that point, we became serious. And like you said, 2006, from 2006 to now, 20 years later, we still together. And she's probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest individual in my life.
Nice.
And at that moment, I knew, because at that point it was clear. It was nothing that I did to trigger anything but surrendering and saying, I don't want to do this no more. I need this part of my life straightened out. Once I got that part straightened out, the rest was kind of like, look, long as you walk the path you're supposed to walk, I got you. Because he didn't come to me and ask me to do this. I went to him. I sat there at the altar, and I was like, look, I'm done. I just want to get there, and I don't want to fight it.
That good old surrender, ain't it?
That's it.
And so with me and your now wife, and that moment, what was the path of y'all getting married and having your son? How did that transition?
Well, it actually took some time because and this was like my last year, her last year graduating. So from January the 1st to May, we were both at Claflin. We was kind of there. And then it moved from May, she actually left and went to Athens, Georgia, to go to grad school. So she went to grad school at UGA. But at that point, it was a lot of back and forth. So it was a lot of intentionality to keep that long distance relationship going. So we went from 2006, and then she moved to Athens, got her degree. Then she actually moved to Atlanta midway through, and did I'm talking 2006 to 2012. So we did 6 years of long distance, like really on the road, like really intentional, kind of back and forth, South Carolina, Atlanta, really making it work. And it was no other choice to make it work because in my prayers, what I prayed for, because I didn't pray for a who. I didn't say, okay, I want to be with Chelsea. I said, whoever at the end of this, that's where I'm going to be, and that's where I'm going to commit to be. And we're going to live life together.
Nice. So that I'm gonna just be honest with you. Long distance relationship have always been my nah, I'm good. So to say y'all was able to do that 6 years through the college phase and all, one, I commend you. But that had to be a thing too that probably helps now where y'all are to be able to have that communication, that trust, that being able to work through different things, and like explain that, like get into that more of how that helped where you are now.
Well, it was like you said, because it was a lot of trust, a lot of intentionality, a lot of really not worrying about each other in the space of, because one thing you worry about in long distance relationship, that the other person is not being truthful, they're not doing what they say they did, and it's just more so like, look, I trust you, and because you give me no reason not to trust you. So at the end of the day, you got to kind of let it go, and you got to wholeheartedly be involved and move through that situation. So it's like, look, we here, we got each other's back. And through that, we kind of dealt with a lot. Dealt with the passing of her father, which was probably one of the hardest times in her life. And then just kind of being there for her through that. And no different when I kind of started going through my situations and my issues was like right there. So I can really say like team, like really being a team in it. So I proposed in 2012, proposed, moved back, and then so she was actually still in Georgia then, and then ended up she moved back to South Carolina. Don't quote me on all the dates, like August or so, 2012. Kind of in the current situation we at now, in the same household. So we just kind of came back here, found this house, started renting it. Was later able to buy it. Was set to get married in 2013 October. Ended up pregnant in February, and then from there, my son was born October 2013, so we pushed the wedding a year, and then that's kind of right there.
So you mentioned the house, but I know we talked about it, but I believe that's a pretty dope story. Tell If you would tell everybody about the story about how you all went from renting to buying that house and all that kind of went with that.
Yeah, it like you said, that was just another step of God really showing up and showing out, and just being favor to actually being committed to the relationship that me and God had. Um, so we was kind of, my wife was moving back she was in McCormick at the time, and she was moving back to Orangeburg, and she not even really Orangeburg. She had got a job in Allendale, which is about 45 minutes. And then I'm probably about 45 minutes from where we at now, 35 to 40. And she came down one day and she was like, babe, I need to find a place. I think I can go Orangeburg. It'll be middle ground for you being in Santee and me going to Allendale. And the night before, I kind of sent her some listings and stuff offline. Let's go ahead and start looking for another place to kind of rent and start moving and getting us together. And she came down, couldn't really find anything because she was moving out of a house in McCormick because she actually stayed on the place where she worked at. And all apartments was kind of too small. And still remember it was me, her, and one of my cousins, and we was riding. And I kind of was like, hey, Chelsea, let's stop and pick up a newspaper. And she kind of got in a tizzy because we had kind of been at it all day. Like we kind of been apartment hunting probably from that morning till 2, 3, 4 o'clock that afternoon. And kind of got aggravated. She started fussing at me. Well, you sent me all the listings last night. And I'm like, but they put out new listings every day. And from the new listings coming out, we were sitting there and there was 2 places in there that wasn't in there the night before. One was a little bit closer to town and one was where we actually at now. And we kind of looked at both of them. And the one we at now, the lady actually lived in Georgia, so we couldn't see it. And we just kind of pulled in the yard and she was like, I like it, from what we could see from the outside. And got in contact with the lady, met her, and she actually rented. She rented it to us. And this was August, September. So fast forward and we get to February. February comes and my wife, we kind of sitting there and she's like, we found out we was pregnant in January, early February. And she's like, what you think about buying a house? I said, we can go ahead, we need to look. We're gonna be together, we starting a family and everything. Let's go ahead and take that next step and kind of do what we need to do. And At this point, I probably have to rewind it a couple years back when I was kind of down there because I was still with my parents for a while and we were staying in Santee. And I was telling my mom, I said, when I leave here, I actually want to walk out of here with no mortgage. I don't want to be, kind of 25, 26, 27 years old with a mortgage hanging over me for 30, 40 years. And she kind of laughed me off the first time. And, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then from there, we kept moving. And then not thinking of it, so about another year, I kind of come tell her the same thing. And at that point, she was like, well, that's what you want to do, kind of go for it. By this time, I had just not knowing how and really not knowing like the power of what God really could do. So I had been saving my money, kind of working and doing some other things. Because at that point, I was farming. I had already started a graphic designing business. I hadn't moved into like photography yet. Just a few other things that we had going on. And it came time, and me and the wife was looking for the house. And um, I share the story a lot just because it was really the power of God. So we looked the first day, and then I kind of went on a bunch of foreclosed websites and things like that. And then I kind of rewind back to me, like first stepping in the house. I said, if this lady ever sell this house, I wouldn't mind buying it. And I started looking. This was probably Monday, and then Chelsea started looking Tuesday. So Tuesday night we were just kind of sitting there and we was talking about it, and everything was ultra expensive, man. And kind of a little bit where we didn't want to be at, like you said, kind of facing a 30-year mortgage. And I remember going to bed at night and I prayed to God. I said, look, God, this where we at. We trying to buy a house. I don't want to look no more. Like I'm tired. I've been doing what you said that you needed me to do. I've been living obediently. I've been, walking this path on the straight and narrow. And you said you know, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, then you can call me out on my word and my blessing. So I was like, I don't want to look no more. Show me. And I got a phone call from my wife the next morning. I was in St. T at work. I was on the farm. I still can remember where I was standing at in the moment. I was under the shed and we was doing some things right by the vice. And my wife called me. She was working in the prison then. And she said, babe, the landlord just called. I said, okay, what you want? The rent paid, right? She said, yeah. She asked us if we want to buy the house. I was like, okay, well, what you want for it? And my wife gave me the price. I was like, no way. I said, no way. And then because the price was a price that was affordable and a price that I know we could actually move into this house mortgage free. And I was like, I just hung up. I told her, tell her whatever we need to do, let her know we want it. I hung the phone up and I started crying in the spot I was at because I was like, God, you showing out. Like, and that was just another instance of him really coming in and letting me know that he was there. Like he was in the midst of it because it didn't take days, weeks, months, years. It even take looking. Because I specifically said I don't want to look no more, and I hadn't looked long. I looked a night. The wife looked a night, but from the obedience, he was like, "Nah, I got you," and that's kind of how I took it. So we actually moved in, bought the house before we had, kind of closed on it like a month later. So it's kind of real rapid process. We wasn't in a long closing period. Had a chance to be able to get it, kind of situated, got my sunroom together, put the crib together, and then, had a place that we could establish and continue to do life together.
Man, that's something, man. I like to call it that big O, man. That obedience is everything, man. My thing is, I tell people, man, sometimes obedience answer prayers that you didn't even praise yet. Like that's just it already have things in line, and you just really got to walk in the space for it to happen sometimes, man. But that's a beautiful thing. With that, your son is in the picture now.
Yeah.
So let's discuss how that transition of being married, moving into the house, having your son there, like where is Tez in that moment of the early fatherhood?
Right there, it's kind of I'm locked in. Like once we find out I'm pregnant, it's like, oh, it's go time. It's like everything. So we turn around, like you say, he's born October, and it's kind of just hands on. It's like we're gonna do whatever we need to do to get him to where he needs to be at and be successful. And me and my wife joke all the time because it's like, Lord, you really let us leave the hospital with a little one? Like not knowing what we were doing, not kind of like understanding anything about raising a child. I got nieces and nephews, but it's different when it's your own and it's just him and it's just y'all. We did have a real big support of, like I said, I can't take my family out. Her mother actually moved down Probably when he turned a year, retired, moved from Connecticut to help out. Like my family was close, but we still wanted to do the work ourselves. So it's like, okay, he's ours. We want to put it in. The help is there if we need it, but it was kind of like, no, this us. So at that point, man, it was, still working, dropping off to daycare, picking up, coming home, and just being intentional about the time that we actually put in together.
Okay. So with that, like in that time, it kind of leads until you start to get into photography business and everything else. I believe after talking, I'm pretty sure we might have walked past each other in life years ago, just of knowing that we pretty much know all the same people. I'm sure I've seen your work and everything. But kind of tell how you got in how you got into photography and the graphics and how that went for you.
It was just kind of thing. I was actually at a knew nothing about graphics, and it's just a testament of like making that commitment. I can always go back to that because things really, if I had to say, come easy to me. So I ended up getting a disc from a Photoshop disc. I was at one of my friends' house and it was like, oh, that's a Photoshop. Let me get it. Not understanding how to work it, loaded it on the computer and just started messing around with it. Started fooling around with some graphics and stuff. Knew a few people that had some clubs and things, and started doing the little flyers. And then ended up connecting with a guy to do some prints for me. And we ran, man, like a large scale graphic design business for a while. I still dabble in graphics, for people who know it. But man, we done work for like a lot of senators out of King Street, lawyers, and a little bit of everybody. A lot of club work, business cards, and just kind of built from there. And from there, just kind of sitting down with one of my good friends, man, Joey Hilton, and we was getting some stuff printed locally.
Shout out to
And he
Joy.
was like, man, you need to get a camera. I was like, man, I don't want no camera, man. This is what I want to do. Like, I don't want to get into photography. He was like, nah, man, it's gonna really make your graphic work go a little bit different. And I was like, ah. And then kind of the more I said I didn't want it, it was just a spirit that just kept saying, hey, I just started looking at cameras. And from looking at those cameras, and I tell everybody, I've never really heard the audible voice of God, but in moments like that, it was like I started looking and I couldn't get the feeling of looking at cameras out of it. So it was like, hold on, like, so I bought one, called Joey, like, hey man, what do you think I should get? And then kind of got one and then started playing around with it, kind of put it on the shelf, didn't move it off the shelf. And then my sister was like, Montez, I want you to take some pictures of my nephew at the time. So we found a location, took some pictures of him, my niece, some of my other nieces. And at that time, Facebook always kind of came out around when we was in college, but Facebook was kind of big then. So this was 2000, I said 2008-ish. And then at that point, posted them on Facebook, got a client. Then from that client, got another client. And then from that client, got another client. Then it was just like I was running into people and I was meeting people with no understanding about photography, but I always, in the beginning, knowing the stuff I knew doing graphics, I could edit myself out of a bad photo. And then it went from editing myself out of a bad photo to actually learning about photography and really digging into it. And I used to I used to say to myself, I was like, look, you might be better than me, but you can't outwork me. You're not gonna outwork my ethics. So now it's 2 o'clock in the morning, like fine tuning, like what do I need to do? 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I'm up and I'm behind the computer, and I'm like, okay. Then I would sit in my house and I would actually shoot the same picture over and over and over and over again, same spot, different light, and just to kind of see, like, okay, well, what is it gonna look like here? What is it gonna look like under this? Ran into a guy in the park one day and he told me about off-camera flash. Moved into off-camera flash, and then from there, like you said, my peak before actually I got sick and kind of went down, I was probably shooting 20, 22, 23 weddings a year. Mainly weddings, but did a little bit of everything. Shoot South Carolina Bar Convention. We do headshots for all the lawyers and judges in the state every January. And then just kind of really moved into a space to where photography, graphics, farming opened the door for graphics. Graphics opened the door for photography. And then from there, it just kind of kept going. Like if I thought about it, I could actually kind of just visualize it and kind of see it and touch it. And then could kind of actually make it a real successful business.
Dope, dope. So with that, I want to say that I was watching your live when you were explaining about your diagnosis, and one of the things that stood out to me was you're on the porch and you're telling everybody, hey, this is where I'm at, this is where we are in procedure. It's going to be a few months, but in April, I know I got some weddings lined up.
Mhm.
God willing, I'm gonna knock those weddings out. To me, the mindset was already like, hey, this is nothing. I still got to get to work. I still got to grind. So with that, tell us about the diagnosis and how that came about. Just kind of give us the background on that.
Okay, so around 2017, like you said, I'm farming heavy. We really working, but I noticed like few small changes with my body and my skin and things. So, kind of sitting down and looking at myself like, well, I didn't really feel bad. It just was like more physical changes. So I had like spots of vitiligo that was kind of coming in my forehead. And again, kind of laughing it off because I told my wife, man, I got this Michael Jackson going on. And And my mom, they would kind of look at me because it was like, you don't really take nothing serious. But I'm like, for real, because I'm actually living life and I'm really not worrying about a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of what's going to happen is going to happen. Um, it was what it was. And hadn't been into the doctor in a while, So I was like, you know what? January come, I was turning mid-30s. I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go get a physical. Went and got the physical. Everything came back good. The blood work came back good. Got a full body physical. Everything looked good. I still didn't feel normal. So I remember calling my daddy when I left the doctor and was like, hey, man, everything looked good. You know what I'm saying? Like, doctor said everything's fine. And a month later, I just didn't feel good. So this was January, moving into February. So I went back and I told the doctor, I said, doc, I just, it was small things like I couldn't hold on to certain silverware, and like on the farm I would like have a wrench in my hand, I would drop it, and it was like, well, golly, like I really don't know what's going on. So went back and she ran some more tests and she said, well, everything looks good. And she said, but I'm gonna send you to a rheumatologist. Went to the rheumatologist, and at that point, we was thinking autoimmune, and um got dialed into it and had an A&A panel done in February, and he was like, nah, you don't got to worry about this. You don't have autoimmune. No problem. Just come back and you don't need to see me no more. But I'm still declining, physically, like my legs and stuff are swelling. Like I'm having night sweats. I'm leaking out my legs. Like I'm actually having fluid come out of my nipples. It's like going crazy. Then my skin started darkening, tightening. I didn't have the full range of motion that I normally had. So then my mouth didn't open as wide. And it got to the point where I couldn't even open like a bottle of water or have the range of motion to put on my socks. And so now we just back and forth to every doctor. It's like doctor after doctor. And at this point, I'm young. And at that point, my wife she was employed with the state and offered me to, we got married, we need to get on my insurance. I like, man, I ain't gonna be spending all that money to get on no insurance. Like, I ain't worrying about that. So I ended up having to go through like a lot of self-pay doctors in the beginning. And we kind of lived in the hospital the whole first part of 2018. 2-3 doctor visits a week, trying to figure it out. Had a good team of doctors that was really interested in trying to diagnose it, but couldn't find out anything because every test that they would run, it was like, nah, man, you good. Physically, we can see that it's a problem because, like you said, my legs were big as tree trunks, and like you said, my skin had started changing and it darkened up and it was like burnt. And they was like, okay, we went to endocrinology. First, they thought it was like a tumor on the brain. We had all the scans done for the tumor, and wasn't that. Then we went to different doctors, and now we got CAT scans, and we doing CT scans, and we doing 3D vein work just to make sure that the arteries and stuff not clogged. And at this point, it was really hard to like just kind of get around. So, but we were still doing the weddings, still doing photography. And my father, he started coming with me on all the weddings, so he would help carry the equipment, get them out the car. And we kind of really ran that 17 to 18 together. Like, and he was like, now we here. So fast forward to kind of started in January, fast forward to June, we did a wedding in Columbia at the country club. And that Monday morning, I was out of it. Couldn't really move. And it was things like brain fog. You couldn't really, sometimes I would get up in the morning feeling good, and 10 minutes later, you can't really think straight. So it was like a real lot of it going on. So my wife, she took my son to school that morning for me. And she came back, and my dad was in the yard with her. And she was like, we going to the emergency room. I'm like, okay, well, here we go again. And kind of went down to Charleston that day. But I still remember on the way to Charleston, I prayed again. I said, Lord, I don't need to be fixed. I just need a diagnosis. I just need to understand what's going on. Like I've been dealing, and it's all in your will. Like whatever we gonna do in this, I told you I'm on the passenger seat, but don't keep me in the dark. So kind of going, we got down there that day, and in the emergency room in Charleston, still no answers. Um, Daddy kind of getting frustrated, wanted to put me in the hospital, but the doctor was like, "Look, no need to put him in because he's not sick, and with not knowing what's going on, he can actually get worse, because all his numbers and stuff look good, blood work looked good, but he says in that moment, but I'm gonna refer him to a rheumatologist." So I had already been to rheumatology, if you rewind, in February. He told me, A&E panel look good, no need to see me no more. I said, but if we going back to rheumatology, let's go. So I think that was that Monday. That Thursday, we end up at rheumatology at MUSC. I met with Dr. Silva, Dr. Powell first. Big shout out to Dr. Silva and Dr. Powell. They kind of were the main reason, like kind of where I'm at today. Dr. Powell walked in, 5 minutes in the room, kind of did some touching, asked some questions, and he walked out. Came back in, 3 minutes with Dr. Silva. He said, "I know what you got." I said, "Hold on now. I've been looking for a diagnosis since January. And you come in with 3 minutes and said, I know what you got." He said, "You got this thing called scleroderma, systemic sclerosis. It's an autoimmune disease, rare. Problem why you couldn't find it was because, it's just about how rare it is. If we kind of talk about that side of it, it's two different kinds. You have scleroderma, which is the easier version that kind of attacks your skin and your outside. And then you got systemic sclerosis, which is the more aggressive version that attacks your internal organs, skin function. And so it produces excess collagen. And in that situation, that's why I had trouble moving and free range. I couldn't lift my arm all the way up. Like I could kind of go to about right here. And that was it. Like you said, couldn't bend over and those things. But scleroderma in its whole is only about 300,000 people in the United States that's diagnosed with it. When you get into the word of systemic sclerosis, which is the more aggressive form, it's only 100,000. And it only really presents itself in females, probably mid 20s to 30s. So the male form of it is even rarer than that. And it's only 60,000 cases of men with it in the entire United States. So it's almost 1 in every 1 million people that has it.
So let me stop you there, bro. I want you to know that when you say, "Hey, God, I just want a diagnosis," like I ain't just give me the diagnosis. It did something to me because the faith, the belief. It's like, God, whatever it is, I'm gonna go through it. Just let me know so my mind can know. But regardless of, I'm not worrying about it. I'm not stressing about it. Just let me know so I don't got to keep going back and forth to all these people that don't know. And he led you to somebody within a moment's time, like, oh, I know exactly what it is. Like,
and I went home and I Googled it. And if it was 150 symptoms, I had 150 symptoms. Exactly what it was. So then it ran the blood work and then it came right back. It was positive. A&E panels, everything was positive for scleroderma. And at that point, I asked Doctor when we got back and he kind of confirmed it. My wife was there. I think my daddy was there. My mama was there. And I said, he said, "Y'all got any questions?" I said, "What my life expectancy look like?" And he was like, "Well, you too much got to worry about that." You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was a little bit more aggressive. Now this kind of takes light of it because it's one of the top 10 worst autoimmune diseases to have. And like you said, not presenting itself in men. But I was like, "Am I gonna die tomorrow?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "Cool. All right, then let's get to work." Now my wife had a ton of questions, but that was just kind of the basis of it because whatever it was, I got what I wanted was a diagnosis. Now let's move through the fighting it. Because I never let that part of it define who I was, because I was always gonna beat it. It was like, nah, we're gonna do this. And then even if we don't beat it, we're gonna be able to live and manage within this diagnosis, because I wasn't in it by myself.
Gotcha.
I was in it totally with, like you say, with the protection of God. He put me here. This the ride we taking. I got you.
So for probably majority of people who watching, like when I talked to you, it was the first that I ever heard of it. But explain to us more of detail, like some of the challenges that presented you in your personal life, and some of the obstacles and things that you had to overcome in the early stages.
Our early stages was rough. I can't never sit here and say it was easy. Like you say, it's brain fog, it's chronic fatigue. It's you can get up in the morning and felt like you worked out 20 hours.
Mm.
So it kind of slows you down and like you said, dealt with chronic swelling. And from there, like just small things, like it restricts your movement so much so it affects you eating because your mouth doesn't open as wide. Like sometimes it was hard. I couldn't open wide enough to even eat a cheeseburger. Like you say, a bottle of water, I had to pass it to my wife. Like, here you go, take the top off this. And couldn't open a bottle of water, bending down, tying shoes. And then my feet swole so much. I was wearing a size 10 and a half, 11. I had to buy 13 shoes just to be able to fit how big my feet were and kind of deal with the swelling and things. So, and outside of the physical, it was real mental in the beginning. Like, just kind of going from being a young man, like, vibrant. Me and my wife love the vacation, like zip line and do all the things. It's like, yo, we're going to go out, we're going to have a real good time, ATV rides. Like I rode a motorcycle, you know what I'm saying? Like, and having to cut some of those things out because the disease was so sporadic, you really wouldn't know what it would do. So I could literally be sitting down and I would cramp up over like a total body. So
Mm.
like I need to get off the motorcycle because I can't risk riding and then just shoot the throttle back because I can't control it. And then now I got something else going on. So that's kind of
Uh,
like one of the biggest things.
so Calvin Chandler, he want to know, how did the diagnosis impact your prayer life? I think that's a good question.
It kind of let me lean in a little bit more. And I tell a lot of people too, I didn't even pray on it heavy because I don't think that that's the God that we serve where I have to just lean in on it. So I kind of told him, like, if this is what we're going to do, I trust you. Let's move to get through it. And then you can kind of literally, I got a prayer journal and kind of look at it and was like, look, we ain't even going to worry about it because the healing already here.
Mm.
And I don't believe in just constantly over and over and over again because they already said if you pray, don't worry about it.
All
So
right.
in that sense, like one of my favorite prayers is the serenity. I mean, it's probably my top favorite just because of what it actually says. And I think people really miss it. And it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. The biggest part is just the peace in the matter.
That's
But
it.
but the most part about that prayer, where I think a lot of people miss, is the wisdom part. It's the understanding to say, okay, I can't change this now. I need to accept that and continue to move forward. So with that part, it's like, look, I get it. This where we at. Don't beat yourself down about it. I got you. Let's move through it. And at that point was mentally learning how to actually develop peace within the storm. Because the storm was storming, it was storming. It was different because it didn't just affect me. It was my family. Like they was dealing with it emotionally. It was my wife. My son was he was younger at the point, so kind of really understanding then what we went on. I'm blessed that he did deal with it early, so he don't remember like a lot of it. Like really the hard days are just kind of laying in the bed and going through those things. But yeah, it was like, no, I got you. We're gonna move through it. We're gonna fight it together. I got people around you that's willing to help, and and you gonna go through it. And that's kind of how it was. And that right there is like, we got stem cell transplant. This was the first time my son could see me after about 4 or 5 weeks that we had been in Durham because we actually had to move. That was us kind of playing the game together. And like I think we probably had 2 nights together. And then so he had to actually kind of leave and be separated. But yeah,
So,
that was
so
it.
my bad. Tell us about that, because that was something that I was going to bring up eventually. Is they're doing a stem cell transplant. We would talk about that, but also the mindset of having to be away from your son and other people for 4 months just to kind of get yourself healthy. But definitely explain the stem cell if you can, so people can understand with the immune system and how that does and how that affects your body.
So we kind of fast forward. I got diagnosed 2018. Um, June, and then kind of been going and really dealing and on medications, and medications real aggressive, man. They kind of mess with your digestive system, and it's a immunosuppressor. So in a situation is your red blood cells and white blood cells don't get along, so they start fighting each other. And once they start attacking each other, your body get real out of whack. So like you said, my body was doing things that it wouldn't normally do. And it kind of came around and we was moving and we went through COVID and my wife was online, like I said, rock. I was just kind of at the point now we living it, we in it. It is what it is. And she saw a lady running a marathon and the lady had scleroderma. And this just goes back to a testament of God really saying you're not in this by yourself. Like when we not looking, because like then the medication was cool. I wasn't feeling no better, kind of on it now, 2 years. And it was like, okay, I'm living, I'm here, I'm kind of existing at this point, but we still fighting, we still not giving up. And we still just, it's peace in the storm at this point. And my wife reaches out in the group and she's like, look, I see you running this marathon and you got scleroderma. Can you give me some information? Because my husband can't do those things. And you kind of don't know where it's going to come from. And she just kind of pushed my wife to say, well, here go my blog, go read it. We journaling the story. And Nikki out of New Jersey, Nikki Pirelli, he ended up reaching out to my wife and was like, do you have scleroderma? And she was like, no, my husband does. He said, call this number. He gave her the information of the doctor at Duke to actually call. Big shout out because he just was in the comments and my wife was in the comments. And he said, look, if you need me, call me. I can break it down. But my wife had stem cell transplant. So this was May 2021, around February. So like you said, we moving through COVID. Everything's different because like the world shut down, you got masks and I'm fighting the illness and you just kind of go through that period. You see everybody just kind of dying and you never think that it could be you, but you get friends that I had friends lost mothers, fathers, family members in the whole part of it. And now you living with the condition you got in this current climate. It's rough. We get there, talk with Nikki, and he gives us the number to Duke University. We call Tanya. We get my wife. She gets on the phone one day. She called me like, hey, can you talk right now? I'm like, yeah, we can talk. And the lady gets on the phone. She said, well, we got this thing that we do. It's called, it's a stem cell transplant. We actually take your stem cells out your body, clean them. Then we give you aggressive chemo. We give you total body radiation, and we take your immune system down to nothing. Clean your stem cells, and then we give them back to you. At this point, they were only doing 4 patients a year because it was a 3-month process. You had to move. You had to be within 10 minutes of the facility, and we only doing 4, and they currently had somebody in there for the first quarter of the year. She said, well, we can get you in the next quarter. If not, we can get you in, there. So, but I had to first leave and go up there for a week to get testing done. So the first part, they look at you, they do a right heart catheterization. With the right heart catheterization, it's like if you fail that part of it, you can't have the trial done at all. So it's like, and you understand that they put you in there. We can't cure anything. The whole purpose of the stem cell transplant is to actually slow the disease down and see if they can keep it from progressing. So we had to leave. We went up for a week, got all the tests done, got everything situated for the stem cell transplant, and she was like, "You'll go. You're a good candidate." My wife insurance and everything, so they kind of started working on that to make sure that we could actually get it situated, get the insurance to kind of cover it, because it was a very healthy transplant. Was probably around $1 million or so. And at this point, like I was still shooting photography. I'm still going. I'm still pushing. We still doing the weddings. And I sat down and talked to my wife. I said, I like it, but I can't do it now. I said, even if I'm available for the next cycle, I said, I just can't do it now. And she's like, well, you need to go. I said, but babe, I got a commitment. I got these. I said, when we get out there and we'll meet, because the biggest thing too is if your lung functioning had declined badly enough, then they wouldn't do it either. So mine was kind of stable. It was down in like the 30 percentile range. And if you had got down to probably like say 20, they couldn't perform it anymore. And I told the doctor, I said, look, can I push out to October? He said, I don't see why. And my family, they kind of own me heavy. And they're like, look, man, like you need to go ahead and get in now. I'm like, look, but I got 9 wedding clients that I need to do that I'm committed to. I already told them, yeah, it ain't like it's a party. Like this is one of the biggest days of their life. Like I'm gonna be there, and if the doctor say that I can push 2 October, then my faith gonna allow me to push to October because I know now that God ain't gonna let me fall in between the cracks between now and October. Like that's where my level of faith really was at. Was like, nah, I mean, I ain't trying to figure it out. Everything has started lining itself up. From me meeting Dr. Silver with even being diagnosed to my wife being in the Facebook group to getting the Duke had all been a part of me sitting on the passenger seat taking a ride. And taking the ride was like, look, wherever the ride go. And then I was firm on, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna leave these people out because if I go back on 9 people now, when I'm finished with this, where does my business stand? And it's like, okay, will we get there? Fast forward, we get to October, and it's like, even how we got to like the place we were staying at, because you had to be 10 minutes, like you said, no further than 10 minutes um from the hospital. I was on a photography session shooting one of my friends, and I was telling him I had, he wanted me to do some weddings later on, probably around December. He was a wedding planner at the time. Kendrick Hemingway, big shout out to Kendrick, because like I said, I got to shout these people because they played a major part in this journey. And we was doing his birthday session this around March. I said, man, look, I can't do the weddings in December. I'm not going to take no new clients. I said, because I got to leave and I got to go to Durham because I need to get a stem cell transplant. And he was like, hold on, man, you going to Durham? I said, I got to be there for 3 months. I said, the biggest thing is finding lodging, to be able to find some place to stay, other than a hotel. He said, hold on, let me make a phone call. He said, I got an aunt that was up there, got a house in Durham who passed. She had a lung transplant. So her house is transplant ready and nobody has been in it since she passed. He called his cousin. His cousin never met me before, but on the back of Kendrick, ended up renting us the house, transplant ready, about 5 minutes from Durham. Another instance. God stepped in and said, I got you. And it was nothing like in Cortland. I never met him. Ended up riding up there, looking at it, met him that day, and he was like, yeah, I got you. And like you said, it was already ready, clean, extra amount of towels, because even when you deal with stem cell, it's a lot. Like, you can't use the same washcloth, same towel. Everything has to be clean. You can't touch certain meats, and then like you can't deal with food at raw temperatures, because essentially when you go through it, they wipe your entire immune system. So we were leaving in October, and we were going to do a going away. My son's birthday in October, so we was going to going away party for me and a birthday party for him. And I called my cousin, and I was like, I want to do Italian ice for Taylor's birthday party. And she said, cuz, man, I'm getting out the business. I got one event left, so I ain't gonna be able to do it. And I thinking about it then, and my cousin Angel, and I said, well, you want to sell it? You want to sell a cart? And she said, I'll sell it. I said, well, hold it till I get back, because I was leaving like in 2 days. I said, if you hold it till I get back, I want it, I want to kind of start a business when we get back. And she held it, went to transplant, and started transplanting in October. Kind of height of COVID, and went in. Had some complications through transplant. You kind of go in and you get them and they pull your stem cells. So like me and Taylor kind of, he was able to sit down with me through the day of actually stem cell withdrawal and kind of getting all my stem cells out and getting enough that they needed to clean. I think it's somewhere around 250,000. I ended up producing a little bit over probably 300,000-400,000. So I had way more than I needed. Body kind of did what it was supposed to do, and it was showing out, man. The nurse was in there kind of laughing, like, man, you showing out. I was like, hey, this ain't me, because I ain't in here by myself, and kind of went there. Got in the transplant, and everything was going good. Made it through the radiation portion, because you go through 4 days of just total body radiation. If you kind of on the clip that you put up, that's like the big machine that you sit in, and you kind of got to sit still for 2 hours at a time because the radiation's so aggressive. They got to actually make blocks. So they got permanent markers on me now that if they ever had to line me back up in the exact same spot, they could with permanent plates that kind of block your kidneys and your lungs. So those portions of your body don't get as much radiation as the next. And kind of got in there, sat through those, no nausea. So Montez, How did you go your first day? I said, everything went good. She said, don't get used to it. I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm good. And the next day after you go through radiation and you start real aggressive chemo. So the whole process is curtailed around a week to get your immune system from normal down to zero. And I would have doctors walk in the room and kind of walk out. They'd be like, hold on. Because I kind of sat up, man, and my people got me through it. Like I would be on the phone all day. I would kind of kick it. Like pretty much if I got up in the morning, I never laid in the bed. It was like I'm getting up, I'm gonna wash, I'm in my recliner, I'm up, I'm sitting around, the wife brought puzzles over. And it was kind of the wing that we was on in the hospital was excluded from everybody. So the only visitor I had outside of the nurses and the doctor was my wife. That was it. Like you said, Taylor was back here in South Carolina. But the doctors will walk in and kind of walk out and be like, hold on, we looking for Montez. And I'm like, I'm right here. And they're like, no, this ain't Montez because I'm looking at your chart. And what you got going on don't reflect you sitting over in this couch. And I'm like, nah, that's me. Because at that point, if you kind of looked at it, you looked at the diagnosis, it was anything from lung disease, scleroderma. I had a heart attack in 2020 that I didn't even know I had. Coronary artery disease. The list just was long, long, long. It was GERD. It was 15, 20 different things on the list, but it was like, no. So I had a rehab doctor clean me one day and he was like, man, I need you to stand up, sit down, kind of put me through a workout. And he said, I don't need to see you no more. Just keep doing what you're doing. And kind of pushing through that part of it. And then moving through about midway through transplant, getting time where I was gonna go to outpatient surgery. I ended up getting an infection. Got a blood infection. They pulled everything because if you see on the picture with Taylor, I had a port actually in my chest, but they had to pull it because the tip of it gets infected, and they kind of moved it from there to get to the like you said right there. I had it in my chest, and then once I went through infection, got the infection, they had to end up pulling it, then they put it in my arm, and that was kind of like total lockdown. Like if Chelsea was in, she had to wear scrubs, and it was like complete protocol. But the crazy part was, I didn't even know anything was wrong. I was laying in the bed and the doctor came in and they're like, you don't feel like you're having a fever? I'm like, nah, I feel fine. She's like, no, you spiked the fever. And I think my fever was probably 102, 103. So they went on immediate infection protocol. And me and Chelsea kind of laughed through it. Like, I've been kept through so many situations that it wasn't even a worry that I had anything going on. So they did everything they had to do, pulled it, started treating it. It actually kept me inpatient probably about 4 or 5 days longer than I needed to be, but they got everything sorted out. And it's like, babe, like you don't feel anything. Like you went through that part of it. It happened, like they pulled it and doctor, like you ain't felt nothing. And Chelsea, like, cause she was in there with me, she's like, nah, you just sitting here just kicking it. And I was just kind of cooling and made it through. But that's just another testament to him really being in the midst of everything I had going on. Everything.
Okay. And so with that, I know when we talked, you said kind of, and you mentioned it earlier that before you got in there,
I can't hear you, G.
can you hear me now? I can hear you. You can hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't think I can hear you though.
Hold on.
You hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me now?
But I can't. You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Hold on. Let me bring you off and bring you back on. How about now?
Nah.
Oh, here we go again. Well, we about to get to the good part. The enemy think he's gonna come in here. We ain't gonna do it. Hold on. Let me.
I can't hear you.
They say they can hear both of us.
Huh? I'm low, but no, I can't hear G at all.
See, I can hear you. See if you take it off and just go with your device. How about now? Hold on, your mic muted. I see your mic muted. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta connect. They say your mic muted. You gotta connect it back. I can hear you now.
Let me see. I can't hear G at all.
Nothing.
Let me take my Bluetooth off. Say something, G. I still can't hear you.
I can hear you good.
Mind muted? No, it should be. Let me get out and go. All right.
Y'all give me just a second. We ain't in this conversation yet. Ted's got plenty more, and we definitely gonna get to all of that. Um, I don't want to tell his story. I refuse to try to even tell his story. Um, it's a dope story. From here though, for me, I just want to say like his resilience, his man, his heart. Like heart for God, just say, God, hey man, I'm trusting you, I'm believing you. I ain't worrying about nothing else. Whatever it takes for my family, for my life, for my peace, whatever you got going on, I'm gonna just keep going. Brother Tez, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we good now. Yeah, that's it. We gonna fight through everything we got going on today. Like you said, man, it's just a testament of it. That's it.
That's
We ain't worrying about
that's
nothing.
that right. Hey, so you were starting to mention about the icy, the Italian
Hmm.
ice. And that's initially what got us here, right? Your son Italian ice on Easter, but tell how you mentioned how you told your sister whoever to hold that for you, but get into when you came back and was like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a ready. I was sitting in transplant and I was talking to my doctor, and she was like you said, just kind of not even knowing that the road had already been paved. And she said, "Yeah, I'm trying to get you back home to go to work. What do you do for work?" I said, "Well, I farm." She said, "You won't do that no more."
Mm,
And I was like, "Oh, what you mean?" Like, and at this point, it's like, "What you mean?" She said, "But the chemicals, the dirt. So if you really look at stem cell transplant, you go back to a baby. So they wipe your entire immune system. So I had to get my 1 year old shots over again, and you
mm,
don't have anything. So it's almost like you had to think of it in the mindset. Would you take your newborn baby around the chemicals, the dirt, and the oil, and everything that I had been doing? So even pollen at that point was bad. Like when I came home, it was like you got to be in the house. You can't deal with the pollen. Like not even knowing that my life would change to not being able to go back to the farm because your immune system is still compromised, even though you went through the transplant. So it's like, whoa. And I kind of even at that point too, like kind of going through it, man. I just told God, I said, look, man, and that's kind of how I have a conversation with him. It's like, hey, it's conversation now. It's like, hey, this me and you, I can't have this affect my finances in a way where I can't take care of my family. I ain't questioning. I've never asked why me, why do I have this, or why am I going through it? It's just like we're gonna go through it. As long as you got me and we can go through this together, I'm good. But it's certain things I'm not willing to negotiate. Like I still have to be able to provide, take care of my family, and do certain things. And I don't want to work hard for it. I need it to come easy because I've done the. Now I'm not physically able to do the hard work because there's certain things I can't do anymore. So I needed to be able to come and line up the way that it needs to. So fast forward, they let me go a little bit short of 4 months. So we came home like right before Christmas. And with that part, kind of drove down, not told anybody because the doctor like, we can let you go. And me and the wife just got on the road one morning, didn't tell nobody we was coming home, pulled up at the house and went live, and everybody went crazy. It was like, but still couldn't be around people. So it was like, even at that point, it was like, if you got company come over, y'all can kind of sit outside or y'all can talk through the screen though, because you still compromise. You only can be in a situation like my wife was here, my son was able to move back in at that point. So kind of moving through it, and while I was there, I had time to actually sit down. And like you said, in those times of when I went back to work, was really sitting down with myself and really being in it. Like you just sitting down with God and just kind of really talking and like having conversations on where we was gonna move at next and what we was gonna do next. And then, not really thinking about the card at that point because I'm really just focusing on, trying to get better. And Angel called and she's like, "Cuz you still want the card?" I said, "Yeah, I'm coming to get it now. I just didn't want that opportunity to move." Kind of thinking I wanted to get in Italian Ice, but I didn't really want to. It was just kind of a thing and it was available, and went and picked up the card. Like I said, now I got a lot of time on my hands. So it's 2022 at the
at the time and started putting together a logo. My son is 7, 8 at the time. So it's like, okay, Tails, we want to do a tan ice business. I want to kind of set you up for the future. I'm gonna give you the best 10 years I got left of my life. I don't want nothing out the business. I'm gonna get you set up to where I want you to be able to leave me at 18 with enough liquid money and enough credit to if you wanted to keep it going or you wanted to do other things that you could. He's 8. So I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, daddy. So we put a logo together. We go pick the card up. And then I just kind of start going with it. Start moving, doing the certain things, buying some t-shirts and getting business cards. And through all of this, it's like, okay, daddy. And it's never hitting them because I mean he's 8. Like what part of it is gonna really be like, hey, we got a business going. And at this point, it's like, I really want to kind of do it the right way. I really want to set them up. Went down and got the EIN number, got the business license. I took them to the bank at 8, and then Miss Sally down in St. Matthews. I'm gonna really call some names throughout this one because there's been some people that really kind of got in it and did their thing with him. She kind of walked him through the process of setting up his small business account at 8 years old, and then still pushing through it. At this point, we still just kind of going. We don't know where we gonna get the ice from. I don't know where to source it from. I know nothing. All I know is we starting the business and we walking by faith right now. Everything's completely blind. Never ran an Italian ice business before. We on YouTube going through some videos, but not knowing anything about it. All we had was a cart, a logo, some t-shirts, and a dream. And
Talking to my mama one day, and she was like, "Look, I was in Charleston with your sister. We was doing an event, and I ran into a guy who had some Italian ice. It was really good." I said, "Well, you got his number?" She said, "Wherever he getting it from, you need to get his." And I said, "Well, what's his number?" She said, "I don't have it." I said, "Come on, ma. Like realistically, you telling me about the ice? It's amazing, and I don't have a contact to even to be able to do it." So she said, "Well, I know what his truck looked like." So I jumped on Facebook, started just Googling like Italian ice businesses down in the Charleston Moncks Corner area, because that's where they was at. Sent her some pictures. She was like, "No, that ain't the one." Sent another picture. She like, "No, that." We probably went through 10 or 15 pictures, but at this point, we going to hunt to find this guy. And sent her, and she like, "That's him." Reached out to him on Facebook, and he kind of tried to push me off. He was like, "Well, it's a guy a little bit closer to you that sells ice. I used to buy from him, this and that and the third." And I was like, "Look, man, my mama, she tried yours. I trust her judgment. She said, you the one got it. Can I just buy it from you?" And he was like, "Well, no, we don't wholesale. We get it from a different location." Still not putting me on to really he really got it from. And I said, "Look, man, I just want to use whoever you using." And he said, "I got you. Hold on. This way I'm getting it from. You need to be, but you need these things to actually gain access."
Mm.
He said, "You need your business license. You need this part. The membership's actually free. And I'm not even knowing what we're going to pay for it to get started. Like nothing. It's just like, okay, well, we just going to get started." So I'm kind of running the clock on some things and kind of putting it in there and not even knowing like what a tub of ice would cost, like how to serve it. And I get the business license, get access to the depot, go down there and found a deep freezer online, brand new, that will hold the ice and, kind of all the things I'm learning online and everything else. And at this point, the more that things are starting to develop, the more interested my son's getting in. And he's like, "Oh, okay, Dad, we got a logo." Then the cart was pretty. So um had some connections and ended up getting in. And from that part, got the ice. Now we got business license, we got ice, nowhere to sell it. So it's like now we go from here. We had first event. I had a friend down in Utahville. He did horse races on Sunday, Shamar Davis. Called him up like, "Hey, look, man, I'm trying to get my son business started. Um, can we come down to the horse race? What's gonna be the vendor fee?" He said, "Man, Ted, don't worry about it. Come on, that's your son. I got you." First event, no vendor fee. Went down there, took the cart, we took coolers, we took everything, probably 9, 10 different flavors, ice melting on us, not understanding nothing, but we got through, made some money, and had a successful day. Got back and just really started kind of getting into it. My wife will walk past me. She like, "Well, Ted, what you doing?" I'm like, "You looking up ice again?" And I said, "I'm just trying to figure out how to make this thing work." Had some friends at Claflin, Matisse Lee, and she kind of came in and she said, Montez, I want you to do our athletes, all of them come back to school. I need you to show up and kind of, I need you to sell us the cups for all the athletes. And from there, kind of moved into that. And then just, man, every relationship that I kind of had growing up. And then she moved us, because my son's actually the youngest vendor in class. She said, well, you can do all the volleyball games, basketball games. You know, come on, we'll get you set up in Claflin where you can kind of move in this space. So especially getting started like late July and then moving into the winter months, we didn't even have to shut down. And it came to the point to where my son kind of fully came back out of my pockets with the business month 2 or 3. But I kind of actually put him involved with everything. So we created a spreadsheet where he could kind of see, okay, when we came home, I said we need to count the money. This how much we in the negative. We need to move this negative. We need to move into the positive, so he could really understand the business part of it and really the relationships of this is the money. Like, because he would look at, oh, Daddy, we made X amount of dollars a day. I'm like, no, we didn't make X amount of dollars a day because we still in the red. And I said, and then, you know, as in business, they look at red and black. But I said, for him, you know, he'll understand red and green. I said, so when this red number at the bottom flip the green, then you'll be in the positive when we start making some money, and then that'll be profit. So, you know, we got to the green and then we went back to the red. And for a while, he couldn't understand because now we need to restock. We need more cups. We need more spoons. And then probably, like you said, month 2 or 3, we went solely in the green, and the business been taking care of itself ever since. Got into a lot, signed up for the school district, got into the school district. Like you said, just relationships that we built through college and school principals allowed us to just kind of take off.
Nice.
Started under a tent, you know, small tent, 10 by 10 set up. I built ramps. We would roll a cart right on the truck and really pushed it. You know, my wife kind of got right in there on it, like, babe, let's do it. And I had to tell her one time, because I know it kind of gets frustrating, you know, like, babe, look, you ain't signed up for this. I get it. This ain't been what you wanted to do. So if this ain't really any day that you don't want to come out here and push for it in the business, man, me and Taylor just gonna have to do it on our own. And she never wavered, like, nah, we got it. We're gonna do this together. And just kind of, you know, just setting his future and moving forward, he would have just a foundation and know that, you know, I can own some things. I really don't have to work for nobody if I don't want to, you know. And I think he's been seeing it, like you said. And we moved from there to last year. You know, my pops came and he said, Ted, you can't keep just in that car. You know, because my health was still like what it was. And I just was kind of pushing past it. It didn't really matter at that point. Like, look, we just going to do whatever we got to do. We're going to keep moving. And he was like, we need to get a trailer. So ended up, took the trip to Georgia, got the trailer. I tell him thank you all the time for it. Then came back and me and my son did all the work. We cut the window in it. The wife came out there. We put the concession window in it. Put the stickers on it, did everything, and got up. And then last May, we kind of pulled it out for the first time. So now, you know, it's a lot easier. We keep the cart in there, hooking up, and just kind of where we had to do normal load up time and set up and popping up a tent. Now we can pull up, open the window, and we ready for business.
Nice. Now I'm gonna go ahead and before we bring young fellow on, because I definitely want to talk to him. This is how I saw him around church plenty of times just walking past, but this is my initial time of meeting him and just how he displayed himself to me to make me even want to reach out to have y'all on the podcast.
Okay, my name is Taylor Hilliard. I'm the owner of Taylor's Tropical Pool Italian Delight, and we started this more so in in July, like when I was 8. You can contact us at 803-316-2967. And we do all kinds of events. We do weddings, birthday parties, school events, carnivals, all kinds of stuff. Right now, we're outside at Bent Middle School for a church event. They're doing a big Easter egg hunt, and yeah.
Young fella handled himself so well. I immediately went over to, hey, bro, hey, we need to talk. Because the way he handled himself, like, there's no accident. You can tell, like, he was in the space, he was put in the space, and he had somebody to show him a way. And me being a father, I love seeing it, like, just the impression that we make on our kids, because it's very, very important. If young fella is there, let's introduce the rest of the world to young Taylor.
Here he go. He coming here now. I'm gonna turn this camera too so we can get a little bit more light. Come on, Taylor.
Young fella. What's going on there, young fella? How you doing today? How you doing this evening, let's say? Pretty good, pretty good, man. So I I just wanted to, if you could just tell the world from your perspective, what's it like being a young entrepreneur, selling Italian nights, like from your experience, from your view, how's that?
So from my personal experience, I actually like being in the business. Excuse me. Yeah, I like being in the business. I think it's a good experience for me growing up as like a young black entrepreneur. So I think it's a good experience overall.
Nice. So when you're in school and the rest of your friends are doing, they say they're going to play in Fortnite, they're doing different things. Like, what's it like for you to tell them, hey, I got a business I got to run this weekend? Like, what's that perspective like?
It's good. Because they kind of like recognize it, so they understand. Like I can't be on the game with y'all today, but like maybe next time. And then sometimes like they like actually like the icy. So like I got one friend. If he sees us, if like I tell him we have an event, like he said he's going to be there. He really likes the Italian ice.
Nice, nice. So you already got you a young following already for what you got going on. Man, that's pretty dope. I'm gonna shift to something. Your dad was telling me that you on your own came to him and said you wanted to get baptized, and it was enough to prompt him to get baptized again as well. What came across you? What's that moment like? What's your mindset that leads you there?
So it was kind of just like being in the church and around everybody, like being around everybody else in the church and seeing everybody else get baptized as like younger kids. And I was like, I never been baptized before. Like I want to. So that was kind of my decision in my mindset.
Nice. So also seeing it moved your father to rebaptize. What did that do for you to see him to support you from saying yes, do it, but also saying I'm gonna rededicate myself at this moment as well? Like for a young man, how does that move you?
It kind of gave me more confidence and it made me want to get baptized even more because I had somebody like right beside me to also like be there while I got baptized, also with my mom also. And then
Nice, nice,
also
nice.
with like all the people and the family members and friends that came down to support, it really like made me feel like happy on the inside.
That's beautiful. I want to ask you this. You're in a position where, as a young man, you have a great father. Period. I he's a great role model. I've seen people in the comments who are also attesting, hey man, he's a great man, he's a great dad. For you, as a young man, to see your father battle in all the fronts he's battled from the diagnosis to still operating in the home to going from not even being able to put on his socks and shoes himself. Like, what does that do for you as a young man to see? And like, what does that put your mindset in those moments?
So it was kind of hard in the beginning, like not being next to him or beside him, and not knowing like what was going to happen next, and also like not knowing what was happening to him. But after we kind of like met up with each other and was like talking, I kind of realized like, oh, okay, like he's in good hands, like he's gonna be like okay, and it also helped me like become like more like stronger, like with like different news and stuff.
Man, you said something just then. As a young man, you said that you're okay because you knew he was in good hands. Like, that's been pretty much what your father has said this whole conversation is whatever he's been in life, he hasn't worried because he knew he was in good hands. It was just like whatever's going to happen from here is going to happen. I'm confident in that. That's a beautiful testament to the man he is and what he's instilled in you as being a young man. So for me, my heart goes out to you because I can tell from where you are now that in another 10, 20 years, you're going to be just as great as your father, probably better. And I'm pretty sure he wants you to be a million times better than him. But you have a tremendous path already like carved out for you. So anytime you got that Italian nice, let me know. I'm gonna pull up and buy one too. Like we're gonna pull up because we got to. As long as I can make it, I'm all for it, bro. So tell us what do you have going on outside of Italian nice? I saw there were some awards and different things. Your dad told me there's some other things you're interested in, you get into. But tell us about other things aside from Italian nice.
So other than Italian ice, I'm kind of like my dad likes to call me a dweeb. but I like robotics and like Legos and stuff. So I'm on like the technology side of life.
That's beautiful. Hey, but don't it's nothing wrong with being dweeb. Let me tell you something that I tell people all the time. The fact that we can sit here and do this, we can have this conversation online. Those are the dweebs and nerds that did that. The Facebooks, the TikToks, all that social media, those were dweebs and nerds. When I was growing up, everybody else wanted to be outside. They wanted to be doing all the wrong things. And the dweebs and nerds were sitting behind computers, sitting behind books, learning and really setting the future up for a lot of people to sit back and be cool on Instagram and TikTok and all that. So keep doing it, especially in robotics. That's a beautiful place to be, period. Like, period. Let me ask you this though. Seeing your father move in the church, seeing him move around the church. I see you move around as well with your mother. And well, we definitely don't want to discount Chelsea because she's super active in the church as well. But just seeing that, what does that do for you as far as motivation to be around God, to be around God's people? Like, what does that do for you?
So it kind of makes me like move closer to God with seeing my mom and my dad like interacting and being like active members in like the church and the community and stuff. It kind of helps me move like closer to God and know like if anything ever happens, like I have other people who's here and like not just being like family and friends, like the church community and other people.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So your dad told me there's a y'all have like a phrase, a conversation that you have each time before you walk out the door. Tell us about that, Tez. Tell us about that, Taylor. How does that go?
Well, just in this world and this climate, man, it's kind of different with these kids just really looking at the internet and aspiring to be everything that they see. So, just kind of sitting down and just kind of through growth, man, me and him and just having conversations because like I pick up every afternoon. So every afternoon is just me and him. And it's like, hey, man, what was your day like today? And then it's okay, well, cool, I got this going on. And then middle school was kind of real rough transition, just kind of that part of it with just kind of just different kids. And then middle school probably got right at 900 to 1,000 kids. But kind of moving through third, fourth, fifth grade, it's always a call and response. And I told him, man, I said, Taylor, all you can be is you. And so we kind of we put it on shirts and everything. So if we leave, we can kind of say it. So every morning before we depart from each other, I tell them, I say, be you. And
Because it's impossible to be anybody else.
I told him, I say, because it's impossible. I say, you just can't be anybody else. So all you can be is you. So if you keep that mindset, and I told him that just recently, I said, if you are you, then you get the friends that you're supposed to have and not the friends that you want. So I said, just be you, man, because it's impossible to be anybody else. And we leave with that every morning. Like that's just it. Because I want you to understand that you alone are enough. That's it.
Nice. With this, I'm gonna give y'all a moment to just speak on your own. If you want to tell what current events where they can find your Italian nights at, if you want to definitely give everybody something to leave with, like as far as mentality of what they should do to I can't say what they should do, but how your mind gets to the faith in God. If there's anything you want to leave them with, this is your time.
I mean, as far as the businessman, we got the Italian nights coming up. We got a bunch of events next week, Tuesday. We actually right here in Orangeburg at Edisto Gardens. We doing a big event with the district. It's a teacher appreciation day. And then we ran on into a bunch of fields there. We got Edisto Elementary School and we got just a bunch, man. We'll be across the Summerton, May 22nd. We got like May the 18th. I think we'll be back at Forward City if we can kind of turn that whole deal probably around the end of May as well. But I had to give anything, man. It's just wholeheartedly like faith. And I tell people, man, faith is different when it's convenient. And you can kind of get into it. And a lot of people talk faith and they really say, okay, well, yeah, I got faith. But it's easy to have faith if you wake up tomorrow and everything's better. But when you in periods of long suffering and you really in it and you really have to lean on that faith. And then from faith, it becomes, like you say, peace. Because in knowing your situation and kind of knowing that you fighting one of the toughest battles that you've been fighting, um, you kind of just got to give it to God, and you got to give it to God with no worries. Because if you in here, and you sitting there, you constantly, and you worrying and you worrying and you worrying, then you're not focused on everything else. I never wake up in a day of thinking about death. I think about living the life that I can live, the life that's destined for me to live, and you keep moving in those moments. Yeah, I take my rest when I need to. I kind of get on this like certain days I don't feel like moving, but just having the ability to know that I can't sit down forever. And tomorrow I need to get back up and I need to fight it again. And man, just kind of like just a strong family. Like you said, I can't discount my wife. I wish she would get on and just at least say, hey, like you said, like just immediate family. But her, man, just like having that backbone. And the day's sermon in church kind of hit home, man. If you look at Prophet Tommy, he was just talking and he was saying about, Adam, and then he was just talking about Eve. And Eve really not being a woman, man, but being that warrior. And my wife, she's that warrior, and then kind of when Adam named her and not what God wanted her to name him as, it was like, Azur, that's warrior. And I kind of look at my wife with that warrior spirit, and she puts on this like, hey man, babe, I got it. I got you. So she kind of gives me the sometimes when I don't have to go as hard because she kind of steps right in and she's right there and she's pulling for me in every corner, every battle. Certain things I don't even have to do because it's like I got it, I took care of it, that part's done, and it makes it easier, and then it's easier just to kind of have the faith because I'm not just having it for me or just for her or for Taylor. It's like family because you got people depending on you, like you said, Kids City. I love it, man, working with my fourth and fifth graders because every Sunday I get in there, I get a chance just to kind of pour into those kids. And even Sundays that I'm not working, it's like I kind of go back there and check on them, make sure I'm dapping them up. And even when I got diagnosed and got put on the oxygen, man, kids was just actually genuine, just asking questions like, hey, what's going on? And then kind of sitting down and being able to explain it to them and then kind of show them too that this is not a defining moment in you. You know what I'm saying? It's just a part of this is part of the storm that you're going through, but I'm still good. Like I'm still able to show up every day in spite of everything I got going on, you still be able to show up for them. Like you say, show up for my son, show up for my wife, and then they show up for me. Like I said, even those points of when I couldn't put my shoes and socks on, like it's still days I just don't even feel like doing it. But I'm like, Taylor, come put these socks on for me. No worries or Chelsea, I need you to put these on. And it's just that part of it, man. I just say lean in, man, and just like believe in it, trust in it, and just sometimes just leave the worrying alone and just kind of just continue to live and focus on the things that's important, and enjoy every day because one thing you promise you don't know when's gonna be your last, but we can't sit here and constantly focus on the last days, man. We just need to focus on the days that we got going right now. Just you coming out. All right, so my wife, she gonna come. She right here now. She said she just gonna say, hey, come around the side right here.
Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Oh, he can't hear. Hold on, get Taylor yours.
Okay.
Go ahead and sit, Jeff. Sit right quick.
Hey,
This her,
Justin,
y'all. This Chelsea.
Hey,
how you doing? Test in the comments saying hey as well.
hey, Pastor.
um, well, we of course we wanted you on because you've been an integral part of his story. The theme for this show is a family that prays. And I'm sure that you did a lot of praying, even when Ted said he wasn't leaning as much and just letting God have it. I'm sure as a woman that I've seen you around the church, I imagine you have been praying. But if you could just briefly tell from your perspective, what's that been like being his wife through it all and seeing him move the way he does and God move with y'all the way he has?
Um, I mean, it's inspiring. So, um, he's always had just a kind of go with it type of flow. So I do the worrying. He doesn't worry about anything. Um, he don't stress about nothing. Like the doctor will give him some news and he's like, oh, okay. Meanwhile, I'm Googling, I got 1,000 questions. So like he's the calm to be able to pray about these things, to be able to kind of move with that where um I do sometimes I still question things and so I have to go with it. But I mean we're a team. I tell a lot of people as a young couple who got married, we were like 30, early 30s. I tell a lot of people you get up there and you say in sickness and in health, but when you say in sickness and in health, you mean when you're 60, 70, long down the line. Nobody thinks in sickness and in health in the first 5 years of your marriage. Nobody thinks that those are the things you have to deal with, that you're having these uncomfortable, hard decisions about DNRs and advanced directives and what to do, if it's just you and a child left behind. Like nobody knows what to do with those things at that age. And so because that is somewhat a lonely situation that you're dealing with, yeah, you have the support of family and friends, but they don't know the depths of what goes on with having to go from the honeymoon phase to, okay, now we're caregiver, we're stepping it up a notch. And so just having to pray with each other often. um I find myself at night, and I've been doing it for years now, if I wake up in the middle of the night and he's still asleep, just kind of resting my hand on him and praying over him, just kind of making sure that it's all of those things before we go to the doctor, praying before um we get certain news, just kind of just making sure that we constantly stay with that. And I used to go to church growing up, but kind of fell out of it as I got older, moving down here, going to church here and there. When we got married, just trying to find a church, never really found one. And then to maybe like 2 years ago, I just kind of woke up one week and was like, we're going to church this Sunday. And we ended up back at Forward City. We had been going before the pandemic, but then like after transplant and stuff, just something was like, just get back in, just go. And so we've been back and just kind of going nonstop, but still, just praying about things and working and trying to get through.
Well, I love that. To me, it's a beautiful story. As I was going over my notes, I really had to like get here, like literally like maybe an hour before we got on, just because just reading over it and really just processing the whole story as a whole, to me, was something that was touching. And I think it's beautiful that the perseverance, the faith of God, like, and the belief in each other, like just really staying there, because there's not a lot of people that would stand by someone in the early years or something like that. It would be more easy for them to walk away or just say they don't want to do it. But to see that you all are pointing each other and then pointing to a child that can pour back, and it's probably going to be amazing once he gets on his own and what he'll do in his life with his marriage and his family, his kids. It's just a beautiful thing, and it just goes to the point that a family that prays, not that they just stay together, they elevate. They do so much more for the world, for the community, for God's kingdom. So for me, I'm gonna keep y'all in my prayers. I'm gonna definitely, like, whatever I can do to support from my end, I'm all for it. I definitely love to have y'all back and we can have more conversations about whatever topic. But that's the show for this evening. I appreciate you, Tez. I appreciate you, Chelsea, young Taylor. I see the lights are going down, so it's probably time for you to get ready for bed. But Tez, we definitely gonna talk more, see what we can do, man. But man, I appreciate everything. I appreciate you taking the time to come on. Everything, brother.
Yeah, and like you said, I just appreciate you just giving the platform, like having it here and understanding, like you said, because I had a rocket first years, man, but like knowing that God never gave up on me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no matter what I was, He didn't define me by what I did in the past. And like, I don't even look at, like you say, some people look at what they're going through and be like, hey man, dog, that's just God paying you back. But I don't believe that that's the God I serve. If I prayed about it, repented about it, that part's over. So, sometimes life just kind of puts you through those things. But I do look at myself as being a vessel here to share the gospel. And when you look at the gospel, man, it's actually the good news. So I'm like one of those testimonies that, like, be able to pour into others and look like, man, no matter what you're going through, you're gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of keep pushing, keep striving, keep doing those things. Like, in spite of everything that I got going on, man, I'm still blessed to wake up every day. Still blessed to be able to be mobile and do the things that I need to do the things that I can do, and know that it's all outside of anything that I ever would have thought, with outside of any power of me being able to do it. Like, it's just a blessing to have in Chelsea, being able to stick there. Because like you said, a lot of people would have left. A lot of people like, I ain't signed up for that. That ain't what I want to do in my 30s and continue through life. But to be able to do life right beside her is like, that's a blessing. That's all God's work. Yeah.
The name of the show is 82-0 Live. And 82-0 is because, like, a basketball season, like when you're 82-0, you undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is a testament to that. That you may have been down in the second or third quarter, bro, but you have never let life beat you. Like, walking with God, You undefeated, bro. Every story that you told, you undefeated. No matter what challenge, man, that's beautiful. That's it. So I want to say good night to y'all. Ted, you can stay on. We can chop it up afterwards. To
Okay.
everybody watching, we appreciate y'all coming on. We appreciate y'all watching. Every Sunday at 7 p.m., 8210 Live. Real conversations, real testimonies, real people just really coming. I believe that testimony can help. Testimony can help others through their battles to inspire them with people like Tez, who are just strong individuals in God and life and just continue to keep going. We're going to be here consistently in obedience every Sunday at 7 p.m. Next Sunday, we have a extremely dope guest as well. So stay tuned for that. Everybody, good night. Cause inside the Holy Ghost having a ride.